Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Phil Switch Podcast. My name is Phil Carute, and I am joined by my fearless co-host, Brock Tamarino. The Phil Switch Podcast is brought to you by Sal's Tire Caps. Sal's Tire Caps. Let us customize your tire caps. Just joking, we don't do that customization crap. Sal might be one of the saltiest guys I know, but a very reliable advertiser. Brock, how are you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, Brock. Sal seems to be getting saltier and saltier, to use your word, Phil. Every time we do this show, it's almost as though he doesn't want to advertise with us. Like he wants to advertise with somebody, but I don't know if anybody else will advertise with him for the price that we advertise or that he advertises with us. However that works, I guess.
Yeah, I would say he's getting a deal at the Phil Switch Podcast for sure. Anyway, Brock, I hate to talk about the weather, but it has been toasty and humid here. I don't want to say the word moist. I know there's some people that would frown upon that, but it has been quite moist here, if you know what I mean. Brock, as soon as you go out and sit down, you're just covered in sweat. You don't even have to run. I mean, there's some people that, I would say by God's design, but it's not necessarily. But there's some people that step outside and they sweat because they've stepped. And then there's other people that sit outside and sweat because it's extremely hot and moist, if that makes sense to you, Brock.
Yeah, it has been hot, quite hot. In particular, yeah, these past couple days, it just seems like it's hotter than usual. And yeah, not to steal your word again, twice in one show, but yeah, I would say it has been quite moist. So quite hot, quite moist, and I would have to agree, not moist like a cake. That's an enjoyable type of moist, but moist where, like you said, you go outside, you're not doing anything in particular, and you're sweating. I don't like that. I really, not that I'm a big fan of sweating in general, but I only really like sweating if I've like exerted myself, like if there's some reason I would be sweating, like, oh, you ran or you worked out or something like that, then I don't mind sweating. But otherwise, I like to stay nice and dry, things like that.
Yeah, same here, Brock. Exactly the same here. But let's get moving on with the show because we've kind of carried on the past couple shows. So let's get jumping right into it. Even though that I'm sure our listeners are more than happy to hear our weather report, let's just jump right into things. So today we have a question for our listeners, and the question is: if you could go back and be whatever you wanted to be, what would you have been? So as usual, Brock and I will kind of warm you guys up and give you guys time to hit the phones or the call lines, whatever. But if you could go back and be whatever you wanted, what would you have been? Brock, why don't you start us out?
Yeah, so I think if I could go back and be whatever I wanted to be without any type of restriction, just I get to be whatever I want to be, I would have to say that for me, I think I would have been, and this might come as a surprise, but I think I would have been a fighter coach. I never really liked, I never really cared to be in the fights myself, but I always liked the art and the style of it. I did some stuff when I was younger, really, really loved it. I loved training, and I think that would have been really cool to have been like some type of, championship fighter, like coach or something. I think that would have been really cool. So, and it wouldn't have mattered to me. I mean, I could have been flexible, whether it was, you know, I don't know, boxing or maybe like now, like MMA, something like that. Obviously, I would have to train more, but that'd have been really cool to be able to do that. I think that'd have been fun.
That's pretty cool. I think maybe a lot of trainers go unnoticed with how much behind the scenes work they actually do to prepare those fighters. But the fighters typically are always very gracious and make sure to give them credit. So yeah, it's cool, Brock. Yeah, a fighting coach, a fighting trainer, that'd have been cool. For me, let's see. It's pretty easy, really. I kind of pretend like I have to think about it, but it's pretty easy. I would have been a drummer in a band. I would have been a drummer. Now, I never cared about being like a big, like rock star drummer. Like it never really mattered to me if I played in huge stadiums or huge arenas. I would have been more than happy to be one of those bands that is able to make a living, but nobody really, I mean, if I walked down the street, hardly anybody would notice me, or know me. Maybe it would just be like every so often if I was walking down the street, maybe like a fan would notice me, but it wouldn't be like I wouldn't have like thousands of fans. It's like the one of X amount of people that, was really into our band. So yeah, a drummer in a band, maybe got to have done some touring. Studio work would have been awesome. That probably would have been the thing I would have liked doing the most, was studio work. But that would have been fun, just kind of seeing different things. And yeah, I mean, I guess it sounds pretty boring, maybe how I describe it, but that would have been awesome. So anyway, we do have the lines starting to light up here. So our producer is going to put through our first guest. We have Joe. I think we're familiar with Joe. Joe's been on the show a couple times. So Joe, if let's see the question: if you could go back and be whatever you wanted, what would you have been? Joe, the floor is yours. Welcome to the Phil Switch.
All right, guys, long-time listener and frequent caller. So that's not really how the old cliche goes, but I'm just going to go with it. I probably got some laughs out of that. So anyway, if I could be anything, if I could go back and be whatever I wanted, what would I be? I think, to be honest, guys, doesn't take a whole lot of guesswork for me. I would have been an astronaut. That's right, I would have been an astronaut. I feel like so this might not seem like a common through line for a dream of this nature, but what really got me into, I think it's astronautics. I don't know if that's what it's called. I don't bother myself with things of this nature. But what really got me into wanting to be an astronaut was after I saw the movie Total Recall. Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I really liked that movie. I thought, wow, what a testament to how cool Mars is. And I thought it would always have been cool to go to Mars, see what's happening there, just see what's going on. And that is the movie that really got me into wanting to be an astronaut.
So, Joe, in that movie, did you see the end of the movie there? Did you see kind of at the end when Arnold Schwarzenegger and the lady ended up kind of on the planet without any type of protective gear or anything like that?
I can't say that I did. Now, one thing I always thought was cool was there was that one guy that had the other guy growing out of his stomach. I thought that was cool until they killed him. So, spoiler alert. Hope if nobody's seen Total Recall, don't want to ruin that, but the midget coming out of the guy's stomach doesn't do too well. I'll say that much. Doesn't do too well on the planet Mars. So I didn't see it. All I know is that Arnold Schwarzenegger probably ended up being a hero. The gal he was with, who he kind of made up or whatever. To be honest, I don't really understand whether it was real or not. I don't get it. But the gal he was with seemed like she was straight as an arrow. She was tough as a cookie. So so my trip to Mars, Total Recall, always made me want to be an astronaut.
Yeah, so Joe, kind of what happens, I mean, they end up coming back, but when Arnold Schwarzenegger and the actress, when they go out and they end up in Mars, like their eyes start shooting out of their head, and it's not good for them. They almost kind of die. But they do end up getting better, so that's something.
Oh, yeah, no, I saw that part. Yeah. I thought that was cool. That's part of the reason I wanted to do it. I thought you meant like there was a deleted scene or like something at the end, like they had in every Avengers movie, where you're just like, sweet, that's over, and then you're like, oh, now I got to wait till the end of the credits. Okay, well, I guess I'll just sit here in the theater, just sitting there awkwardly, quiet, silent, waiting for the extended scene that lasts about 10 seconds, and then you're sitting here contemplating all your life decisions that you just sat around for an extra whatever it was to watch 10 seconds of something that didn't really tell you anything you didn't already know was probably coming.
That's actually a good point, Joe. I do that. I do that with those movies. I kind of hang out, and then once the extra scene or whatever is done, the after credits or whatever they call it, I kind of think to myself, I don't know that I needed to spend the extra time here. I could have got out of my car and I've been moving down the road a little. So that's not a bad point, Joe. I'm going to think about that next time, I think. But hey, Joe, thank you very much. You want to be an astronaut? Very cool. Thanks for calling in, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon, Joe.
Thanks very much, guys. Always a pleasure coming on the Phil Switch. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so it looks like our next guest up is Clarence. Clarence, you are on the Phil Switch. If you could go back, what would you have been? Clarence.
All right, well, I think if I could go back in time, I would have been a speechwriter. Now, I think I would have liked to write speeches for people like Taylor Swift. I saw her give a speech when she won one of them things at the Music Awards. And I think it would have been really cool to have been able to, I thought to myself when I saw her giving that speech, well, who wrote that? Who was the lucky son of gum who wrote that speech, I wondered. And I thought maybe it'd have been cool if I could have wrote that speech now. I guess. But I'm not much of a speech giver myself. I got this thing where I get nervous whenever I talk to other people. Sometimes I can't always hear me. And my voice goes in and out.
Are you nervous? Are you nervous right now, Clarence? I'm just, if you are, I mean, that's your thing. I'm just curious if you are nervous because you're kind of coming in and out. Your voice is cracking just a little bit. And you're just on the phone.
Yeah, I get real nervous when I talk to people.
Clarence, if you were trying to say something, I think your phone was breaking up. Maybe you're going through a tunnel or something like that. But your phone was. It sounded like you were maybe trying to like sing a song, but like also not.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to collect my thoughts. Okay. I'm trying to calm down a little bit. Just had to take a deep breath. I called in the number to your guys' podcast, but I didn't really think I'd get through. In fact, I was kind of hoping I didn't. But I would like to be a speechwriter. I know a whole lot of words, and I used to like listening to speeches of all kinds, and I think I could be kind of cool to write some neat speeches and make people sound real nice when they get awards, or even when they just have something real important to say. So that's what I would have done, guys. I'm going to go. Bye.
All right, Clarence. Thank you very much for coming on the Phil Switch. I hope that maybe if you call in again, maybe you're not so nervous. So anyway, Clarence, thanks for calling into the Phil Switch. Really appreciate that. So we got an astronaut. Joe would have been an astronaut. Clarence would have been a speechwriter. So that's all real good. So the next person we have is Paulie. Paulie, welcome to the Phil Switch. If you could go back in time, if you could go back, what would you have been, Paulie?
Well, I tell you right now, if I could go back, Brock, you hit me real close to the heart, you know? If I could go back in time, Brock, you know what I would have probably done? Maybe you could have been my trainer. You could have been my coach, because I'd probably go back and be some kind of championship boxer. Maybe I'd be a championship boxer or a championship fighter, you know? You never know what I would have been, Brock, but I would have given a 1-2 thing like here. Knock that guy out. Come with the uppercut, you know, over. An uppercut. Always with the uppercut. That's how I imagine myself winning. If I was in that fight there, this guy come, oh, I duck, I move. This guy don't know what I'm doing. I swing around and I come up with the uppercut, you know. I would have been like a championship boxer or something. Championship boxer. Always winning with the uppercut, kind of like in, is it Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, maybe? Yeah, I watched that Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. He come up with the uppercut there. I always tricked him out. I went to the side, got it going here, punch him there. You know, when I was in high school, my friend said, hey, Paulie, you might be the toughest guy that we know. And I said, oh, you think I'm the toughest guy? You ought to see my friend Joey. Joey was tougher than a rock. He would come down on somebody like stone, you know what I'm saying? This guy would come up to Joey and he would say, hey, Joey, what are you doing? And I would be looking over my shoulder like, oh no, here comes trouble. Because my friend Joey, he was a nice guy, but he ain't gonna take no loot off of nobody, you know what I'm saying? So my friend Joey, this guy would come up and he would say, hey, Joey, how you doing? And before you know it, Joey would throw a right, he would throw a left, he would throw an uppercut, and that guy was gone. And I tell you right now, I don't want to take all the credit for Joey, but I tell you right now, Joey, he learned quite a bit from me. I'll tell you that right now. Joey learned a whole lot from me. And Joey one time asked me, he said, Paulie. I said, yo, Joey. He said, Paulie. I said, what you need, Joey? He said, Paulie. I said, Joe. He said, how are you so fast when you're fighting people? And I said, Joe, I can't explain all that to you. They're just angels under my feet. Just angels under my feet, Joey, is what I told him. That's what I said before I became Paulie, the toughest guy in high school.
That's cool, Paulie. Toughest guy in high school, huh?
You know it. You're talking to him.
How long has it been since you graduated there, Paulie?
Oh, gosh, we got to be going on about 25 years now. 25 years since I graduated. I still run into guys from high school. They say, Paulie. And I say, yo, and I give them a look. They give me a look, and it's like, oh, we know. Know what? When you guys give each other a look, what is it you know, Paulie? They know. They say I can see them telling a girlfriend. I can see them telling a chick. I can see them looking over at them and being like, man, you know, I'm lucky that you didn't see Paulie before you saw me. You know, and I can just see him. They're going to the car and they're like, let me ask you something. They say to their girl, they say, let me ask you something, all right? If you would have known that guy, the guy I waved to back there, I waved to him. If you would have known that guy, this is what I got going in my head because I'm pretty sure this is what would have happened. They say, you know that guy, you would have seen him before you met me. Tell me you wouldn't have been with him. Tell me you wouldn't have been with that guy. And then I just sit there. Tell me you wouldn't have been with that guy. His name's Paulie. Tell me you wouldn't have been with him. And I guarantee you that chick is all like, Dear John is the beginning of the letter. Sitting on top of that freaking mantle. Dear John, I saw you down the street, but guess what? Oh, I saw Polly about 2 seconds before that. Sorry, things ain't gonna work out. And I just sit there. Sitting. Waiting.
All right, so, Paulie, you would have been a championship fighter, championship boxer. That's cool. Anything else you'd like to share with the Phil Switch, Paulie?
No, that's about it for right now. I tell you what, though, you guys got another question for me some other time. I come right back on. Until then, I'm just going to be sitting there waiting. Okay, Paulie, thank you. Thank you for joining us on the Phil Switch. Okay, so our next caller, Daryl. Daryl, if you could go back, what would you have been? Or what would you be? If you could go back, Daryl, what would you be?
Oh, that's real easy, guys. I've thought about this a spell or two, I can tell you that much right now. If I could go back in time, what I would do, or what I'd be a gorilla.
Did you say a gorilla?
That's right, guys, I'd be a gorilla. I'll tell you right now why. Because, I mean, people might know me. I'm kind of head up, short back, chest out, kind of a tough guy. And I'm real strong. I mean, I got that, people say, hey, you got that strength. I'm like, what kind? They're like, oh, you know the kind. So I'm real strong. And then, thing is, gorillas are real strong, right? So gorillas are real strong. And then, I tell you right now, in every gorilla pack or group or whatever they call them, I don't know what to call them, won't matter, because if I was a gorilla, I'd change it anyway, whatever I want. I don't know what I'd change it to, but I'd change it to something real cool. Anyway, if I was a gorilla and I was the top gorilla guy, he's always a dominant. So he's always a dominant gorilla. He's got dominance over everybody. And what happens is, since he's a dominant guy, he gets all the chicks. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he does get all the chicks. I mean, I will say that gorillas are very strong. When you go to the zoo and they're jumping around and everything like that, they're strong. They're some can be kind of aggressive. Some are a little more laid back. It just depends. Probably depends on what day you get them. Did they get a banana or not? Things like that. But yeah, gorilla, I guess. We got an astronaut and a speechwriter, a professional boxer, and then we got a gorilla, which is, par for the course on the Phil Switch. So, any other reason you might have decided to be a gorilla, Daryl? Any other reason?
Well, I mean, I'm strong, right? So if I was a gorilla, I'd be strong. I'd be dominant, and I'm pretty much dominant whenever I walk around. Especially when people come in my house, I like to walk around a lot. So sometimes I'll stand up, walk around, shoulders back, big head up, shoulder back, chest out. I'm walking around, pacing around my house. People are like, why is he walking around his house without his shirt off, or with his shirt off while he's got company? And I don't live with anybody else, so they're just talking amongst themselves, but I know they're checking things out, seeing how I'm dominant, just kind of strolling by. But I tell you one thing right now, if I ever ran into chimpanzees, I'd let them guys have it. If I was a gorilla, right, and chimpanzees came and they wanted to be in our area, I would just let them have the area. And I'll tell you why, because chimpanzees they don't fight fair, all right? They don't fight fair at all. What a chimpanzee does is when a group of chimpanzees goes in, what's that big word I learned earlier this week, infiltrate? When they go into when one group of chimpanzees goes into another group of chimpanzees and infiltrates, what happens is that one group of chimpanzees that infiltrated, sometimes they'll go for the other chimpanzees' dangles. You know what I'm saying? They'll go for their dangles. And I ain't about that.
What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, no. He's right, Brock. When chimpanzees take over like another group of chimpanzees or family or whatever, whenever they take over, they'll go for the male chimpanzee's junk. It's actually pretty disturbing.
Yeah, so I mean, if chimpanzees came in, even if I was a gorilla, I'd be like, hey man, let's just play it cool. I kind of like use that new catchphrase, like you do you, and I'll do me. If you guys want this, that's fine. I'll head down the road peace and we'll be all good. As I'm walking away, I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, I ain't gonna mess with them. They'll mess with my dangles.
Yeah, it kind of seems like being a gorilla might not be all it's cracked up to be, especially being a chimpanzee. Definitely not all it's cracked up to be. So, anyway, Daryl, thank you. Quite enlightening. So, Daryl, thank you for coming back on the Phil Switch. I recognize you from before, so very good. Jerry, our next caller is Jerry. Jerry, if you could go back, what would you be?
Well, I reckon I ain't got no regrets. So if I really had to think about it, I guess I'd just probably be me again.
So if you could go back in time and you could be whatever you wanted to be, you'd just be Jerry. Nothing different, nothing changed at all.
No, I don't reckon I'd change nothing at all. I guess if I had to go back, I'd probably just still be me.
All right, that's cool. Hey, thanks, Jerry. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate it. Always like talking to you, Jerry. All right, cool. The last caller, it looks like, for the show today is Gil. Gil, if you could go back and be anything, what would you be? Okay, so I've thought about this quite a bit. Okay, so I'm thinking to myself in my head, I'm thinking, and it hit me all of a sudden while I was listening to your first caller, actually. I've thought about other things I would have been if I could go back, but the thing that I think 100% I would be for sure, it's a dancer. I think I would go back and I would completely be a dancer. Now, some people, I'll tell you right now, some people have grace with words. Some people have grace with instruments. Some people have even grace with their voice and singing and talking to people. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, and there's not a lot of people that know this about me. I have grace in my feet. I have always felt like when I walk, I'm floating in the air. I'm making a statement with my walk. I'm making a statement with my gait. When I run, it's like a thing of beauty, just like a waterfall, but a waterfall that's straight. You know, flowing water that's straight, a straight waterfall. That's how I feel when I'm.
So when you say a straight waterfall, you're talking like a river.
Brock, you can call it whatever you want. I like to call it a straight waterfall. Just a straight, nice waterfall. That's how I feel when I'm on my feet. In fact, when I watch the movie Top Gun and I hear Take My Breath Away, I literally have to go back and watch it because as soon as that song starts, I just start meandering and dance through my house. And then I come back and I'm like, Gil, what have you done? You've missed the entire scene. And so I just think to myself, Gil, you need to rewind this VCR, or nowadays, that's what I used to do. I used to rewind the VHS tape in the VCR. Now, what I can do is I can just skip back to typically the beginning of the scene, or just, rewind it back to where everything should be when Take My Breath Away starts. And I've got to be honest with you guys, I don't just have to rewind it once. I have to rewind it several times because that's what happens. I start dancing the first time I hear it, and then I come back to the room and I say, Gil, you've missed the entire scene. What you doing? I'll say it like that to myself in my head, in my noggin sometimes. Gil, what you doing? And as soon as the song starts playing again, I'm drifted away through my house on my flat waterfall feet, just flowing through the house. I can feel the breeze. I can feel everything. And I can just hear, take my breath away. Bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bum. Take my breath away. Bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bum. And by the time I get back to the room, I'm like, Gil, what you doing? All right. That might have been the longest explanation that we've got about what somebody wants to do if they could have gone back and done whatever they wanted or been whatever they wanted. I don't even completely remember the question. I'm going to be honest, Brock.
Yeah, are we recording? I honestly don't even remember. I feel like Gil's transported me with Take My Breath Away. Does that? Anyway, Gil, thank you for coming on the Phil Switch. We're gonna close it out here. So Phil, I'll leave it to you at this point.
Okay. Well, as always, everyone, thanks for listening to the Phil Switch podcast. Don't forget to check out my other podcast, The First and 15th, which I co-host with Kaplowitz Media. If you would like to contact us here at the Phil Switch, email us at thephilswitch@gmail.com. Again, that's thephilswitch@gmail.com. You can also find the video version of this. If you're not watching the video version of this, you can find it on YouTube and Rumble. If you're watching the video version, all of them aren't on YouTube and Rumble. So if you just want to go back and catch up on some of the previous shows, you can find those wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, guys, we wish you all a great week, and we will talk to you soon here at the Phil Switch.